All right, this is a 49ers update. 49ers intel all rolled into one after that dominant 32-19 win over the New York Jets to open this season. Guess what? That was the first time in NFL history that there had been a final score of 32-19. They call it scoregami. I swear, 32-19 had never happened before until yesterday. But that's the least important piece of information that we're going to cover in this show. Hopefully, the knowledge just comes pouring out over the course of the next several minutes. First off, we have already the injury news because Kyle Shanahan's conference call was early. The key piece of news there is that Christian McCaffrey would have played if it were a playoff game. This is a similar issue, potentially the same issue as the one that sidelined him for Week 18 last season in the meaningless game against the Rams. The 49ers showed off their luxury yesterday, which is they don't have to play Christian McCaffrey. They don't have to play Talanoa Hufanga. They don't have to rush Dre Greenlaw back. They can bide their time because they're so damn good. I think it was very clear watching this game that this is the deepest roster, the best roster, deepest and best of the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era. At this point, it's about management and luck moving forward. How can the 49ers make sure that they peak at the right time this season? Well, one of the ways they can make sure of that is if they manage it correctly to maximize their chances of staying healthy. Because, when you look at what they had with somebody like Jordan Mason yesterday and you say, okay, that's the running back 2 on this team. He's running like Marshawn Lynch, 147 yards. Seemed like a heat-seeking missile out there. I mean, guys were just bouncing off of Jordan Mason. He showed some speed, too, when he hit the edge. Turned on the Jets on that last big run. I thought that was the quickest that I'd seen Jordan Mason move in his career, and that was at the end of a 28-carry performance. Never before has there been a running back under head coach Kyle Shanahan rushed that many times in one game. But if that's what you have at your 2 spot at running back, I think that you're living with an embarrassment of riches. And that's a credit to the 49ers for building the roster that they've built here over the years. And I think this is peak talent that San Francisco is showing now. Trent Williams said it best. He said that I didn't think that they would be able to improve the roster, but somehow they were able to do it. And it's not just, the depth at some of the key positions. It's the frontline talent at some positions, including the defense. Maliek Collins, he was a terror up there. And that's what I wrote about on The Athletic yesterday. I've got to pull that article up. I thought that the biggest point of progress from the 49ers from 2023 to 2024 has been the work that they've done in the trenches, both trenches. So that's why I didn't only write about the defensive line. I wrote about the offensive line as well, and I kind of rolled it all up into one piece. 49ers dominated both trenches in their season opening rout of the Jets. So you can go ahead and check that out up on The Athletic. But Maliek Collins, new defensive tackle, they traded with the Houston Texans to grab him. He was splitting double teams all evening long. He recovered the fumble forced by Fred Warner from Breece Hall early on. And he brings this stout frame. I think you could see Collins in the background there. I think that's him, 99, unless that's Hargrave. I can't tell the jersey number to the left of Leonard Floyd. But Leonard Floyd's a 240-pounder. Then you've got Jordan Elliott, Maliek Collins, Javon Hargrave. Those are all 300-plus pounders. These guys are wider bodies on the inside. Hargrave has always been an explosive pass rusher. I don't think that he's the best run defender, but that's not the point. They signed him to rush the passer. They acquired Maliek Collins and Jordan Elliott on the inside to fortify themselves against the run. Keep in mind that last year, and I mentioned this so many times, I was so critical of the 49ers run defense last season. They were number 26 in EPA per play, expected points added per play in advanced metrics against the run. Yesterday, they completely snuffed out the Jets, and it started with Maliek Collins. Leonard Floyd at 240 pounds can set an edge. I mean, early on, he was flying around that edge. There was a stop of Breece Hall on the second or third Jets run of the game. that showed me that the 49ers are serious this year. They also changed coordinators. Speaking of that, I mean, I think that the defense for San Francisco is tied together between rush and coverage so much better than it was last year under Steve Wilkes. It was very, very apparent upon watching that game live, seeing the replay. I'm starting to break down some of the tape. Early on, obviously, Aaron Rodgers had his way on those third downs for the Jets. I think it was the first 3 third downs that he hit Garrett Wilson. But he was getting rid of the ball quickly. On average, Aaron Rodgers, between snap and release, it was 2.33 seconds, which was the quickest of all quarterbacks in the NFL. So, all it was going to take was Nick Sorensen, the 49ers' new defensive coordinator, making a couple tweaks in coverage to make sure that they took away that first throwing lane, and that was going to allow the 49ers pass rush to hit home. And you saw on, I think it was drive number 3 or drive number 4, still early in the game, the pass rush hit because the 49ers made the coverage adjustments on the back end. Then down the stretch of this football game, when Aaron Rodgers went to Garrett Wilson, with the Floyd pass rush coming around the edge, Deommodore Lenoir was able to pounce in the third quarter, knock the ball away. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles interception later. Fourth down, this sealed the game. Rodgers tried to go to Garrett Wilson again. Isaac Yiadom, the 49ers' new cornerback, was there to knock it away. This right here is an absolutely staggering statistic, or I guess it's a statistic, but it's also it's a chart. This is Aaron Rodgers' throwing chart in the game yesterday. Look at this. He only threw to the left side of the field. This is a Charvarius Ward tweet or Charvarius Ward graphic. First saw it on Twitter. Rodgers was 13 to 21, 167 yards with about 90% of that yardage. Maybe 80%, because I know that he hit the Lazard touchdown on the free play that was technically to the right side. But on non-free plays, there was nothing beyond 6 yards downfield to the right side. And that's because Charvarius Ward is locking down this side of the field. It's almost Richard Sherman-esque. Rodgers did not want to go to the side of Charvarius Ward. Instead, he said, I'm going to try to pick on Isaac Yiadom. I'm going to try to pick on Deommodore Lenoir. Early on, it might have worked against Lenoir, but, I mean, that was a great catch by Garrett Wilson on that first third down. It stopped working later in the football game because the 49ers have a damn good secondary. So this is the Charvarius Ward effect. And if this continues, I'm sure Deommodore Lenoir and Isaac Yiadom would welcome it. I'm sure the 49ers would welcome it. I don't think there's a way that you can have an efficient game against San Francisco offensively, throwing to only one side of the field. So the 49ers will say, here, welcome, if you would like to only attack one side of the field. That was the strategy for Aaron Rodgers, but it's not 2023 anymore. Last year, the 49ers had Ambry Thomas a lot of the time on that side of the field. This year, they've added Yiadom. Lenoir is blossoming into a hell of a player, and the secondary was way too good for Rodgers to be so unbalanced with the way that he attacked the defense. If you take a look at the quarterback efficiency in this game, make this a little bit bigger. You can disregard Tyrod Taylor. He only had 10 plays. But you can see that Brock Purdy was better than Aaron Rodgers last night. He didn't make any mistakes, said Kyle Shanahan. Those are his words. It's what I said after the game yesterday. I probably got some blowback for it, but as usual, was correct. Brock Purdy, more efficient than Rodgers, higher depth of target than Aaron Rodgers, higher completion percentage than Aaron Rodgers, higher QBR than Aaron Rodgers. It was a hell of a game. Brock Purdy didn't flinch a single time. My main point, and it's why I wrote this article right here, was that the 49ers were able to move this battle into their wheelhouse, into their comfort zone in the trenches. First couple drives, you saw Quinnen Williams beat Colton McKivitz. Then you saw the Javon Kinlaw just destruction of Jake Brendel. I think that was on the second drive. First couple drives, the Jets were playing this game with the pass rush. The focal point of the battle was the Jets pass rush against the 49ers pass protection. San Francisco said, no, we don't want that. We'd rather play the game with our run blocking against your run defense. The result of that battle was Jordan Mason going crazy. We have a cool little chart that I'm going to find here for you of Jordan Mason's runs in this game, which, I mean, it was an ambidextrous running effort. We can put it that way. Take a look at this. Really, really just, I mean, I would say even staggering to see, mainly to the right side. And that was, I think, a lot of it was to preserve Trent Williams, who had to go get an IV later in the game. He obviously isn't in tip-top shape yet after the holdout. But the 49ers in the past have loved to run to the left behind Williams. That makes sense. But in this game, now they have Dominic Purdy on the right side, and they're able to just control the game by running straight at the Jets. In fact, Jordan Mason faced a higher rate of stacked boxes, which is at least 8 defenders in the box, than any other running back in week 1. 50% of his carries, 14 of his 28 carries came against stacked boxes, because the Jets, I mean, they didn't know what to do with themselves. They couldn't stop him once the 49ers got their rhythm going on drive. I think it was drive number 4 where they went 12 plays, 87 yards, and overcame the 2 holding penalties. So the Jets decided to go 5 down defensive linemen, 5-man fronts. That's what you normally do when you need extra help against the run. And it didn't work. Jordan, and one thing, when you go 5 down defensive linemen, you have 1 fewer defender on the back end past the front line. So if Mason is able to run through an arm tackle or 2 up front, then he's going to have a whole lot more space further downfield. And I think that's what you saw here. The touchdown run that got called back at first because of the weak holding call against Deebo Samuel. I don't even think that Sauce Gardner sold that call particularly well. I think the officials just wanted to watch more of the 49ers run game. Unfortunately, that cost Jordan Mason a touchdown. He scored later, and he was holding the touchdown ball from that score later. But Deebo got that touchdown, which I think Deebo probably believes that Jordan Mason deserves it. But, on that play, Dominic Purdy, the 49ers rookie right guard, who has looked like a pro from day one, was impressive. I think it was Michael Clemens that he just kicked out on that play. And, everybody was talking about Purdy being a great pass protector coming out of college. Even Chris Foerster, the 49ers offensive line coach, said, "You think he's a better pass protector than a run blocker? He's going to have to develop his run blocking." Well, yes, he's still a great pass protector. Purdy only gave up 1 pressure, but it was the run blocking that was truly spectacular for the 49ers last night. Here are the pressure numbers for the 49ers offensive line. McKivitz gave up 2. Brendel gave up 2. Now, one of those from McKivitz was against Quinnen Williams really early on. One of those from Brendel was against Javon Kinlaw really early on. And then it was extremely clean for the 49ers from that point moving forward. And to me, when you looked at the secondary getting beaten a couple times early and the offensive line getting beaten a couple times early, and then you fast forward and you saw that it didn't really happen again outside of the free play for the secondary on the throw to Alan Lazard, that's extremely, extremely notable and impressive. A team that was able to adjust and course correct in a way that defensively they didn't adjust and course correct in the same way last year. And I think the offensive line has gotten significantly better. Let's pour one out for the people who say that the 49ers didn't invest in their offensive line over the course of this offseason. They literally picked up one of the best linemen in the draft in Dominic Purdy with a draft pick. I think that counts as investment in the offensive line. We can also pour one out while we're on the topic of pouring one out for people who said that Trey Lance was better than Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold. Next week, it's already this week, really. It's a short week for the 49ers. This is going to be a challenging turnaround. The top-graded quarterback from week 1, Brock Purdy, is going to face the second highest graded quarterback from week 1, Sam Darnold, both of whom were on the 49ers last year. It was a joke a year ago when people said that it was some kind of conspiracy that Sam Darnold was picked over Trey Lance to be QB2. And it is, I mean, it makes people look like absolute laughing stock now. It's an even bigger joke. It's hilarious at this point. But it is Purdy, and it is against Darnold. It's 1 against 2, 49ers and Vikings next week. Going to be a really exciting week 2 game in Minnesota, which I think might be the best stadium in all football. And, I just think it's important to hold some of the discourse accountable, because it was really, really bad at around this time last year, maybe a little bit before. But the truth always ends up prevailing. And Darnold had a hell of a year for the 49ers, working behind the scenes, rehabilitating his career. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch him and Purdy on opposite sides coming this week. Purdy didn't make any mistakes, said Kyle Shanahan. He said that one ball that was a little bit riskier that he threw was to Eric Saubert there in the second half up the seam, where Tony Adams, the safety from the Jets, came over from center field, knocked the ball away. But Shanahan said that he understood why Purdy took that chance, and it ended up being a harmless play. It was knocked away. You have to tip your cap to Tony Adams. You have to tip your cap to the Jets defense, which I think, the pass defense is really, really good. Quincy Williams, one of the top 5 graded coverage guys last year, any position on the back end. He's a linebacker. He was able to knock away a pass in man coverage against Deebo Samuel. Whenever a linebacker can cover a receiver, that's good stuff. Sauce Gardner's a good cover man. CJ Mosley, he was the top cover linebacker in the league last year. If you looked at the PFF grade, 3 of the top 5 guys in the league, coverage-wise, are on this Jets defense. And you could tell early on. But, the 49ers did a great job moving the battle away from the Jets' strengths. The Jets can cover. They understood that. They saw that. They saw the Quincy Williams pass breakup. They saw Sauce Gardner working early on against Brandon Ayuk with the pass breakup / drop from Brandon Ayuk on that slant. That was before Ayuk dropped what should have been a touchdown on a great throw from Brock Purdy. But the 49ers saw that, and they said, okay, we're not going to play to the Jets' strength. We're going to move this to our arena. And the Jets, they can cover, but can they stop the run? Can they take Diesel, right? Can they handle this? If we run Diesel straight at the Jets, what are they going to do? And the Jets folded. I think Sauce Gardner even checked out of the game for a little bit yesterday. So this was a bruising 49ers win. They had over 400 yards of total yardage versus less than 200 for the Jets before garbage time started in this game. And despite the fact that they did just take it straight at New York with a very physical style on both sides of the game, 49ers come out of this with a great health report. In fact, the only new injury that they didn't have entering this Monday night game is the calf contusion to Aaron Banks, who's now day-to-day. So Banks day-to-day with the calf contusion. Spencer Burford, he had a nice pancake block in his place, playing at that left guard position. And Burford, credit to Spencer Burford. He was the starting right guard last year. He has lost his starting job to Dominic Pooney, but he came off the bench and played really well, filling in for Aaron Banks on the left side. And I do have to note that Spencer Burford was a left tackle at San Antonio in college. So maybe playing on the left side of the offensive line is going to create a little bit more of a comfort zone for him. But huge arrow up for the 49ers offensive line. Again, the pressure numbers were solid, but what was amazing was the way that they were able to block in the run game. Eric Saubert was really good, fit right in. Remember that Eric Saubert was with the Texans last year and with the Dolphins. He spent some time in Miami's building, so he worked with former 49ers tight ends coach John Embry. You could tell that he's fluent in the 49ers outside zone blocking game. And in a game where San Francisco simplified what they had to do because there was no Christian McCaffrey. I mean, they were just running outside zone, mix it in with some inside zone, but just a lot of zone blocking. In a game where they really went back to their bread and butter when it came to run blocking, I think that it was notable that Eric Saubert came in, first game, new team, and was able to execute as well as he did. Kyle Juszczyk executed as well as he did. Obviously, George Kittle had a huge game for the 49ers. And then there was Brock Purdy spreading the football out extremely efficiently. Didn't make any mistakes to set up Jordan Mason against all those stacked boxes. And you know what? If opponents are going to bring 8 men in the box frequently, or they're going to bring 5 down defensive linemen to try to stop the 49ers run game. That's where Purdy has to make defenses pay. And he certainly did yesterday. There's so many just composed passes from Purdy yesterday. We talk about him not making any mistakes. The fact that he was able to do that, despite the fact that the Jets were crowding the line and definitely muddying the pocket, you have to tip your cap to Brock Purdy. He's looking like an all-pro, which the MVP finalist quarterback. He's looking like somebody who can go out and win that MVP this year. Top-graded quarterback after week 1. We had an amazing Ricky Pearsall moment yesterday. This is from Betty Yu of KTVU. This is Pearsall's dad. Rick Pearsall was Sergeant Joel Harrell of the San Francisco Police Department, who was the first to tend to Ricky Pearsall after he was shot just over a week ago near Union Square in San Francisco. So, Bet You, thank you so much for this footage. There's Ricky Pearsall himself with Sergeant Joel Harrell of SFPD. I mean, this is what it's all about. The 49ers, just an emotional moment on Ricky Pearsall's birthday at Levi Stadium, his 24th birthday. Those are Ricky's parents, Aaron and Rick Pearsall, talking with another member of SFPD right there. Just, you talk about vibes surrounding the 49ers. How about the vibes of this? After a miracle. Again, there's the helmet signed by the entire 49ers team for Sergeant Joel Harrell. But you talk about vibes. You talk about the fact that Ricky Pearsall had about a 1% to 2% chance of survival based on where the bullet hit his chest. Went into his chest, out near his armpit. Didn't hit any vital organs. Nobody knew that at the time, right after he got shot. And you saw the first responders on the scene so quickly. And, even if it didn't hit anything, something still could have gone wrong. So the fact that Ricky Pearsall got such good care, not only, right there on the street before he headed to the ambulance, but also at San Francisco General Hospital from Dr. Lucy Kornblith. She was honored at the game as well. The fact that Pearsall was able to get such good care on both fronts certainly ensured that the miracle came to complete fruition. And I mean, it was just such a special day yesterday at Levi Stadium because not only were the 49ers and Ricky Pearsall able to honor the first responders from SFPD and SF General Hospital following that harrowing incident, this was also the Frank Gore 49ers Hall of Fame induction. This was before the game. That's Frank Gore. What a shot. You could use that as your phone header if you'd like. I made sure to get the nice horizontal angle for you. But Gore, he shared some amazing stories, including the one about him scoring one of the key touchdowns for the 49ers on 4th and 1 on the same day that his mom had passed away. Heartfelt stuff. I asked Frank after this press conference if he knew when he retired that he was at exactly 16,000 rushing yards over 16 seasons. And he said that he knew. He said that he knew very, very shortly after. What a perfect bow to an amazing career from Frank Gore, who is going to be in the Hall of Fame for San Francisco. Not just the 49ers Hall of Fame. He's going to be wearing a gold jacket. He's going to be in Canton for San Francisco, I think, in 2 years. 16,000 career rushing yards in 16 seasons. Frank said yesterday, talk me up, guys. You guys got to build me up. I don't think he needs that. I would hope he doesn't need that. I mean, based on how impressive that career was. I mean, he's right there at the top in rushing yardage. But I think it's number 2 at this point in rushing yardage. There should be absolutely no question that Frank Gore is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He ran against a lot of stacked boxes. We saw Jordan Mason against the stacked boxes yesterday. We saw the 49ers come out of this game with a great health report. And now we're going to see the 49ers and the Vikings in week 2. Why don't we spin this forward a little bit? I'm going to look to see what the setup is for San Francisco in week 2 against the Minnesota Vikings. Go to my NFL page, week 2. 49ers are 6-point favorites. So they're bigger favorites on the road against Minnesota than they were in week 1 against the New York Jets. Going to look at some questions here. Put up a 49ers Q&A banner. Jason says 32-13 is the truthful score. That was the pre-garbage time score. The 49ers were over 400 yards of total offense, and the Jets were under 200 yards of total offense before the final garbage time drive. I think that's an accurate representation of how this went. San Francisco ran 70 plays. The Jets only ran 49 plays. That's another dominant statistic. The 49ers had over 38 minutes of possession. The Jets had about 22 minutes of possession. I mean, this is just a strong arming, and the 49ers did it at less than full strength. That's all that you can really say about it. Speaking of a strong arming, the 49ers saw Dominic Purdy, their rookie offensive lineman, dominant Dominic. And Jesse Sapolo tweeted this. Isn't that cool? The Polynesian Brotherhood. Dominic Purdy there, 49ers rookie with the Sapolo family, wearing the 61 jerseys. It's like really cool to see 49ers past and present together. The Punisher. That's a good one. I just find it so funny that so many takes surrounding the 49ers are not only like off, but they're blatantly wrong. You know, though they didn't invest in their offensive line. I mean, the offensive line literally has picked up one of the best rookies in the draft, which took an investment. Like, does truth not matter to people anymore? Now, last year we saw it with Brock Purdy. People trying to discredit Brock Purdy. Well, you haven't been able to credibly do that for a while, but I mean, the people who are discounting what Purdy is doing, I mean, how many of them are there left? Like 3 or 4, like total out of 100 million football fans. Like it's to me, it's staggering how wrong people have been on so many levels of what's going on regarding the 49ers when it hasn't been hard to be right. It really hasn't. Like, the data has been out there in front of us. And for the 49ers, the data is only getting better. This is already the best roster in the NFL, and somehow they managed to get it better, to improve it. I'm going to go through some of my other points from yesterday. What a week 1 showing for the 49ers. No new injuries except for Aaron Banks yesterday, calf contusion. Juwan Jennings fought through that ankle injury. 49ers featured pre-snap motion on 90% of their plays, 62 of 69 plays. Only Mike McDaniel's Dolphins showed a higher pre-snap motion rate. 49ers playing this as the 20-game marathon, which they should. They've played 20 games in each of the past 3 seasons. There's no reason to rush somebody like Christian McCaffrey back. But if you're just joining, Shanahan said that McCaffrey would have played had this been a playoff game. Got a couple press conference clips that we can play from yesterday as well. First, Nick Bosa, and then Fred Warner. Thanks to Mike for sharing these.
I'm really proud of how we came out with energy, and Fred making that play early kind of set the tone. But yeah, if we could stop the run like that, we'll obviously clean up more things, and we'll have a lot more rush ups in the future.
The last few years, and you guys have been good defensively, but against the run particularly, you've been top 5, top 7. What drives that? What about this team allows you to do that?
Well, that's just our main focus every year, because if you can make teams one-dimensional, it's huge, and it's always a number one focus every single year, especially with our D-line scheme and the way we play our linebackers. So yeah, we take a lot of pride in it, and last year we weren't as good as we needed to be, so we had to improve. How many yards was it tonight? You know?
I stopped. It was like 31 late third quarter, early fourth before those last 2 drives.
Okay. So under 100 for sure.
Nick Bosa didn't check with me. Sometimes we go over the box score together in the locker room, but I didn't get a chance to talk to him, and I didn't get a chance I was in the locker room at the time of that presser, but I would have said that the Jets were under 3 yards per carry until garbage time. It was about 2.5 yards per carry, so super impressive. Obviously, tone set, and Bosa pointed that out by Fred Warner, who had the punch out early on.
I love the way that he, approaches the preparation, the way that he leads our group, and ultimately, goes out there and calls a flawless game. There's things to clean up on our side as players execution-wise, but I'm proud of the way that we fought. Yeah, I think, we kind of go throughout the week of me and him talking about his mindset throughout the game. I mean, it was a unique preparation because we didn't know exactly how they were going to come out and attack us, right? We kind of could go back and look at the Packers stuff. We try to look at the Jets games last year, but having, Aaron and the Jets together, it was going to be a unique combination to try to feel it out. So, I just think he kept it pretty simple, allowed us to just go out and play free, and we continued to communicate throughout the game. So it was just good to kind of get that first one under our belt.
And I opened the show talking about how tied together the front and the coverage looked for the 49ers. It's something that we didn't see consistently last year when this defense looked disjointed under Steve Wilkes. They dropped from the number 1 defense in the league to the number 10 defense in the league by the advanced metrics. The run defense dropped from number 2 to number 26. That hurt the pass defense. It's all connected. Yesterday, everybody looked like they're on the same page. Again, Isaac Yadam, big pass breakup. Diamond Lenore, big pass breakup, led to the interception. We saw the New York Jets target just one side of the field because Charvarius Ward was able to shut off 50% of it, and the 49ers made them pay. And everything, including that, remarkable split where Rodgers is only thrown to the left side of the field, everything is rooted in the run defense, and Nick Bosa played his ass off in that regard, but Maliek Collins was really good on the inside. I thought that Leonard Floyd was excellent yesterday. He and Nick Bosa are going to be a great pairing. The sack from Leonard Floyd, that Bosa won, Floyd cleaned up. It's really, really gratifying to cover a team over the course of the offseason and then see everything that you reported and covered kind of come to fruition at once in one game. And we talked so much about Leonard Floyd being a great compliment to Bosa on the other end. This wasn't a bad Jets offensive line with Tyron Smith on one side, putting Bosa into a chokehold that wasn't getting called. Morgan Moses, new offensive tackle, on the other side. And I thought that we saw Leonard Floyd beat him consistently. On the interception, Floyd beat Tyron Smith. He ran right around the hoop, beat Tyron Smith around the hoop, and that forced Aaron Rodgers to hurry the pass moving forward, and that's the one that Diamond Lenore broke up. And he was in better position than he had been earlier in the game because of the adjustments from Nick Sorensen. So 49ers seem to be in better hands when it comes to defensive leadership this year, moving from Steve Wilkes to Nick Sorensen. First time we'd ever seen a 32-19 final score. Scoregami. Kyle Juszczyk, this was a good quote. It was funny. This whole training camp, the reports were the vibes are so terrible here, and that couldn't be further from the truth, end quote. Yeah, I have to sit back and say, thankfully the 49ers finally got to play an actual game, because I was getting really sick of people who don't know much about the game at all, thinking that they could somehow capture something as intangible as a vibe. I mean, tell me that you don't understand the NFL and professional football without saying that you don't understand the NFL and professional football. When you have to go out to training camp and you can't identify what's happening from an X's and O's standpoint, so you have to talk about vibes instead. 49ers are a team of professionals with a track record. That track record showed up again yesterday. So thankfully, we don't have to talk about bad vibes at training camp again. Every single season, and I remember this in 2023, people were talking about how bad the vibes were because Nick Bosa wasn't there. Then they go out and they just kick Pittsburgh's ass. This year, people talking about how bad the vibes were because Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk showed up late. They go up and they kick New York's ass. So it's like, at some point you would think that people would learn to just calm down, watch things materialize. No. I guess every year we're going to go through this drama, but when the 49ers have the most talented roster in the NFL, I guess that's what does attract that kind of drama. We'll just keep on reporting things straight. 402-196 was the yardage advantage before the start of garbage time. Purdy didn't flinch once. Jordan Mason had a 100-yard performance with 20 minutes left to play, finished with 147. I mean, this was a complete strong arming. This right here, this is a good graphic. Let me get this up on the screen. This will show you the efficiency advantage that the 49ers had in this football game. Purple is bad, green is good. You can see the Jets are bad on rush, pass, all plays. Early downs especially are bad. The only place where we see some consistent green from the Jets in terms of EPA per play, expected points added per play, are in late downs. Aaron Rodgers got him on the free play. Aaron Rodgers got him on a few early third downs. But they couldn't get anything done in the run game early. So once the 49ers made their adjustments against the pass game, even the green areas here got less green for the Jets. Meanwhile, the 49ers are dominant, especially everywhere. Late down pass wasn't great in terms of EPA per play, but the success rate was solid. And they generally stayed out of those situations. Only 13 such plays out of 71 total plays. So you win a game up front. You win a game by stopping the run and running the football. Everything else can kind of branch off of that. 49ers found the formula in a very, very consistent effort. And that's something that's going to be sustainable for San Francisco moving forward. All right, you don't got to all caps it, man, but I'll put you up on the screen. Do I see Juice getting a lot of targets this year? Well, I think anybody's targets are going to go down when Christian McCaffrey comes back. 49ers had to run a simplified playbook without the McCaffrey pass tree, but the McCaffrey pass tree is going to be part of what San Francisco obviously does moving forward. Big win for the 49ers. Couple more questions and then I'm out. Keep them coming. Let's go. How many weeks is McCaffrey out? I think until he's 100%. Why rush him back? There's no rush for the 49ers. If he needs to sit till week 8, I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but if he needs to sit till week 8, it's not going to hurt San Francisco in a way it's going to cause them to miss the playoffs. 49ers can take their time. The point is to peak in January and February. It's a long, long season. I mean, Sorensen's got to get an A+. The way that he adjusted in that game yesterday, if it weren't for Leonard Floyd jumping off sides to give Aaron Rodgers the free play in the second half, the Packers did essentially nothing after the early third down success. So when you're looking at a coordinator calling a game, it's a chess match. And I think that Nick Sorensen showed up big time in yesterday's chess match. Do I think Burford is a long-term possibility at left guard? Absolutely. I don't think it's going to be easy to pay Aaron Banks next offseason. So you got to develop your draft picks, and Burford showed up when he moved over to left guard yesterday. Do I think McKivitz makes it all year? If he stays healthy, I thought that was a good opening performance from McKivitz. Showed a lot of improvement over last year. But we shall see. All right, I've got another assignment to head to right now. So everybody, thanks for watching. We will talk to you very soon.